Today, I want to dive into a money block that I hear time and time again, which I am calling the too much money block. The part of you that feels too much for this world, right? Too much part of you that because of this too much wound or this too much block, you hide parts of yourself. You bury parts of yourself. We hide the too much part of you in shame, in pain, and it's buried away. And part of rising into your next level of wealth, heart, body, soul aligned wealth, is about welcoming and learning to work with and creating a safe place for the too much version of you. So this is deep diving shadow work. This is going deep into yourself. And today I want to talk about what I know about the too much version of you and create a safe space to allow this part of you to kind of peek out from behind the shadows and essentially start to befriend this part of yourself, start to work with this part of yourself, and allow more of this part of you to breathe and to be here in the world and eventually integrate. Because what I know about this too much version of you is there is an immense amount of power in here. There's an immense amount of creative power in here. And what I believe is it's your job to learn how to be in conscious leadership of this part of yourself so we can work with it really mindfully, right? We're working with it really consciously, and it's not coming out in the shadowy ways when we have unheld, unloved, hidden parts of ourselves and shame and pain. That's when it can create a whole lot of mess and a whole lot of problems. Often unconscious ways that you sabotage yourself, hold yourself back, unconscious hurt and harm towards yourself, or sometimes that can, if it's not being held, project out into the world around us. So we are diving deep, deep into the underworld of our wealth cave. And I understand and just want to bring in a lot of compassion that when we're journeying with the too much version of you, we are working with pain and we are working with shame. So it's really important that before we dive in a little bit deeper, that we just acknowledge the depth of what we're about to talk about and the vulnerability that is lying underneath here, and want to just allow you to breathe into a very safe space for a minute and to know that you are in the driver's seat of this conversation and you get to find your way to navigate through. What I want to do is talk around it, to put a voice to this part of yourself. And we are going to learn one step at a time how to bridge, right? We want to find a safe way for you to bridge your inner world and your outer world, how to integrate all aspects of yourself into your physical reality. This is, from my point of view, what it takes to be truly living abundance. We're fully embodied in our wealth frequency. We're fully rooted in all that we are. We have to grow deep, deep roots into the earth, deep, deep roots into our body, and come home to who we are. Part of that is really looking at where we've severed, where you've created that sever of separation between your inner world and your outer world. And we want to, again, create safety for you to bridge that gap one step at a time. There is no rush. This is a process. This can take a lot of time sometimes. But the first thing we want to do is identify it and talk about it. And this space is here to support you. It's a safe space to connect and to get to know these parts of the self and to get to know this part of yourself and to have at least one space in your life where you can bring a voice to this part of yourself if you wish to. So again, because we're in the shadows and in the unconscious, you may be aware of what I'm talking about, this too much version of you, but there may be parts of this that are still in the unconscious that you are not aware of yet. So again, we're putting a very loving, very gentle spotlight right? That you get to choose how much you want to be in the spotlight, or if you just want to look at the spotlight from the side, right? You can go right into the center of it if it feels right for you today, if you feel ready, or you can just choose to look at it from a distance and stay curious and stay interested and stay open. But what I've found from my own journey personally as well as professionally, especially if your path is to work with large amounts of money, right? So working, let's say, with multi-millions plus, for example, or you know that your business is here to grow and impact the lives of many people, for example, that you've got a great purpose behind your work, there will be a great power that is connected to that. And we want to activate and wake up that power, wake up your purpose, and wake up that prosperity in a way that is held, right? That is safe, that you can work with really consciously and mindfully. And we start with you, with your beautiful self, with your body, with your relationship with yourself as the center point of everything, the center point of your business, the center point of your finances, the center point of your life. And we're tapping into ultimately that creative power that lies within. But first, we need to identify what parts of yourself are still hiding in the shadows of shame, hiding in the shadows of pain, right, with the belief that this part of you is too much. So I just want you to take a deep breath into your belly. I find that this usually lives around the pelvic area, the sacral chakra, the solar plexus area, right? So I'd like you to take a deep breath into your belly and into your pelvic floor. So sort of from the waist down, we want to breathe into this part of yourself and welcome, create a safe space to welcome the too much version of yourself. Welcome. Just so you know, your too much version of you is not too much for me, right? I have the capacity to be with immense amounts of energy, with great power, and it's something that I can meet and hold with a huge amount of love. And with that safe holding and safe space, I want you to know that, right, you are welcome here, and we're going to learn to bring this part of you out one step at a time at your own pace, right? Following your own inner guidance and your own inner intelligence. So one way to play with the too much version of you is to think in terms of archetypes. So what I like to do with these parts that are in the shadow, these shadow aspects, is to see if this part of you appears as an archetype. And it might appear as something that's separate from you. Right, for example, the queen archetype, like the sovereign archetype, or a dragon, for example, just for two examples. And I would like to see if we welcome in the too much version of you. How does this part of you appear? How does this part of you appear? It may appear in an archetype. So we just want to welcome that part and start to get to know it as its own character. And sometimes through that separation, you can start to get to know, get to become familiar with, and eventually befriend this part of yourself. So we are welcoming this part of you here now, either consciously or unconsciously. We're welcoming in the too much version of you as we dive into the shadows. And we are creating a safe space for this shadow work, for this deep diving into your unconscious that are usually buried within the shadows of shame and pain. So the challenge of working with this too much version of you is that you will need to and stay present with things that feel uncomfortable. And there's an absolute normal, natural pain avoidance. You'll have all sorts of protection and coping strategies and defense around this part of you. All the armor, the walls that you've built up around this part of you for all sorts of very valid reasons. But we're going to invite you with the safety of the space just to see how much you can bring the armor down, the protection down, the defense down, and breathe into this too much version of you, which is one of the money blocks I have come across time and time again. Now, inside this too much version of you, as we go into the shadows, as we move through the shadows of pain and shame, there is immense vulnerability in here. This part of you is incredibly powerful, but is also very sensitive. So we are bridging between power and vulnerability, power and sensitivity. So we want to create safety to work with this part of you, even if it's coming across as this fierce dragon, something incredibly powerful. In there will also be the greatest sensitivity and vulnerability that also needs to be held. And what I have learned is that when we can hold your immense power and your immense vulnerability and sensitivity, that creates safety. That creates safety for yourself and for others. So you can work with this power very consciously and very mindfully. And that's what we want to get to, what I refer to as heart-led leadership, right? Leading from your wealth, from our true wealth, right, is about full integration, full integration. So this is what we're moving into, which is masterful. And it's a process. It is an ongoing process. And we need to start by first befriending and getting to know this too much version of you. And get to know it. Get to know it. So what I would like you to do, if you haven't already, we're breathing deep into the belly, breathing into the pelvic area, the pelvic floor, the solar plexus area, and taking some beautiful deep breaths deep down into your belly, deep down into your body. We are welcoming, calling in this too much version of you, the part of you that you've hidden, buried in shame or pain, that is not integrated fully into your life, that's not integrated fully yet into your physical reality. We're holding the space in time to bridge, to create a bridge between your inner world and your outer world, right? We are wanting to create a safe pathway for this part of you to be fully integrated whole here in this physical reality, in this physical life, right? Which is an incredibly powerful activator for creating what you desire. Not just what you desire, but what your great power and great purpose is here to create, here to become, here to build. So this is, from my point of view, much bigger than you alone. It's much bigger than the I. Right? It's beyond the ego. And it is immense. And you get to choose, right? You do get to choose what level you go into, what level you want to integrate. And I'm holding a space for the full meal deal you to be here. And just remember that you are in the driver's seat and you get to decide what feels right for you at this time. And this is why we need to follow your inner guidance, your inner knowing, and take that next baby step, right? We want to take the next baby aligned action step with what is in alignment with you at this time. So we're not forcing any change. We're not making anything happen. We're going in and breathing deeply into yourself from a place of deep honoring and deep listening. One step at a time. One step at a time. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Go breathing down into the belly, creating a safe space to get to know this too much version of you. Maybe it comes to you as an archetype. And just creating a space to drop in and welcome you here. Oh my goodness, breathing through all the feels that come up, the discomfort, the intensities. And while we're breathing into here, what I'd like you to tune into, you can meditate on this question or journal on this question. And I'd like you to ask yourself, what part of you do you feel is too much? What part of yourself do you feel is too much, or do you believe is too much? That if you brought this part of you out into the world, it would be too much, right? And maybe you've tried to bring this part of you out into the world before, and it was too much. Maybe it was judged, rejected, or it didn't go very well. So let's tap into that part of you. Again, we're not asking you to do anything with this yet. We are in the safe space of discovery, of inquiring, of exploring. You don't need to do anything with this yet. We don't need to bring this out to the world yet. We are just getting to know this part of you. So what part of you do you feel is too much? And you might want to free write on this question, or just meditate and breathe on this question. And breathing through and into vulnerability that's here. And breathing with and through any pain or any shame that's here. So letting it be here, breathing with it. I'm going to give you a few minutes to sit with this question. And staying present, breathing with whatever's here for you. So now I want you to identify your thoughts and beliefs around this too much version of you, this too much money block. What do you believe will happen if you let this too much version of you out into the world? What do you believe about this part of yourself? What is the risk with bringing this part of yourself out into the world? So what are the stories and the beliefs that you have around the too much version of yourself? I'd like you to journal on this question or meditate on this question. So we are naming the shame. Right? What are the stories and the beliefs that you have around this part of you? And I know that they can feel very, very real. We're wanting to create a little bit of separation where you can be the witness of and seeing what these beliefs are as stories, potentially, right? Maybe, just maybe they're a story or belief rather than the ultimate truth. But we want to, again, be the witness, put a loving spotlight on it, to create a little bit of separation and start to get to know this part of you, right? So we're witnessing the stories. These are the money blocks. These are the patterns, programs, beliefs that are keeping you in separation between yourself and what you desire, between yourself and where you're going, your next level. Beautiful. Thank you. So brave to stay present with this part of you. So as we deepen into this too much version of you, we're getting to know, right, maybe what's dangerous about this part of you, right, the negative stories and beliefs you have about this part of you, what's bad about this part of you has been buried in shame and pain, and we're breathing into it and just revealing the shadow, exposing the shadow, putting a loving spotlight in here. So remembering that although this part of you is immensely powerful, this part of you is also immensely vulnerable and highly sensitive. So we want to go in now into this part of you, right, into the depth of vulnerability, which can also feel very painful. So remember, it's almost like having a raw nerve, and that's why we need to create safety for this process as we journey down and in. I want to ask you now, if we're tapping into the intelligence, the information, the wisdom that lies within this part of you, I want to ask this part of you now, what do you need? What does this part of you need? What are the unmet needs here? Where is this part of you not met? So you can find your needs by identifying what isn't, by identifying the lack or identifying the scarcity. So for example, if this part feels alone or unloved, right, we can identify the need through the lack, through the opposite of what it needs, right? So this is where pain is the portal to prosperity. The lack in your life, or the scarcity, or the void of what you want can show you, right, what you need. It's the signpost if we're willing to dive in and be with it. So the lack, the pain, the scarcity, if we're willing to stay present with it and breathe with it and listen to it and see it as information, we can go in and ask, okay, so if you are, let's say, lacking love or lacking support, for example, what do you need? The need would be, I need to feel or be loved, or need to feel, be supported, for example. So what is the need? The need of this part of you. So you might want to start by identifying the unmet needs of this part of you. We're deep in the shadows now. So stay breathing into your belly, breathing into your pelvic floor, staying with the void, staying with the darkness of what isn't, right? And we're breathing life into you now. So this is part of rewiring to receive, just to let your brain know what's happening. We're rewiring to receive. We're learning to receive into aspects of yourself that has not received before, or not received for a long time, and has historical hurt and harm in here, right? Either this lifetime, other lifetimes, ancestral, from your ancestors. So we're deep, deep, deep in the roots now. So keep breathing, staying present when they're just feelings. You're safe and it's okay. We're breathing deep down and in. And we're starting to get to know this part of you by identifying your needs. So what does this part of you need? I'm going to give you a few minutes to be with this question. So identifying your needs, and please be the witness. Please just allow this part of you to speak. Even if you feel this is impossible, even if you feel it's not available, even if you feel there's no room for your needs, no room for this part of you, please just let this part of you speak to you. Right? Again, we're not going to do anything with it yet. We're just staying open and curious. Release all of your judgments and let it all be here. We're letting the too much version of you be here, have a voice, have space to be, to speak, to be acknowledged, to be seen, to be witnessed, and eventually held. What does this part of you want? What does the too much version of you want? And again, we're creating a safe space now to stay very curious and allow your wanting to be here. There's great intelligence in this process. Stay with it. What does this part of you want? What does this part of you desire? We're going to create a place of radical acceptance, radical receiving for yourself now, to allow this part of you to speak. I'll give you a few minutes for this question. Beautiful. Welcoming your wanting and welcoming your desires. And just remember to witness where your money blocks will be here, trying to clamp down with all the thoughts, the judgments, the stories. So witness the mind as we do this process. And that's fine for those money blocks to show up, but we just want to dive deeper. Be like, thank you, thank you, thank you for your opinions. Thank you for your thoughts. We're diving deeper to find out what lies deeper than those surface level objections. So slightly tied into need, but it's diving even deeper. How does this part of you need to be held? How does this part of you need to be held? Now, with holding, this is on a number of different levels, but I would like to start with emotionally, personally. But when we're looking at holding, we're also looking at infrastructure. We're looking at the holding within your finances, the holding within your business, the holding within your team, the holding within your personal life, your home, relationships, your physical environment, but also emotionally. So this holding, when we start to tap into the holding, it ripples out into all areas of life. So I'm going to keep this open, an open question, to see what lands for you. How does this part of you need to be held? How does this part of you need to be held? And stay open, deep listening, releasing any judgment, being with the vulnerability. This requires vulnerability to tap into the holding. I'm going to leave this open for you to explore. How does this part of you, this too much version of you, need to be held? I'll give you a few minutes to sit with this question. Beautiful. So thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to what you need, what you want, how this part of you needs to be held. Thank you. Beautiful, brave, deep diving work. Breathing into all that's here, and all this is stirring up as we sink deeper into your roots, rewiring to receive, learning to embody your wealth. Beautiful, beautiful. Keep breathing deep, deep breaths into your body. So we are going to start the journey of rewriting this story, rewiring to receive, and begin to turn this too much money block around. So I'd like you to breathe into your belly. I have another question for you to tune into your wealthy wisdom within. So when this part of you is held, when this part of you has their needs met, when this part of you is open with their wanting and their desires, held, safe, secure, met, honored, looked after, cared for, truly held, what does this too much version of you become? So when this part of you is fully held and met, what does this part of you become? What does this part of you do? How does this part of you create? It's time for you to get to know this part of you when it's held and integrated and safe and secure. So breathe deep into the belly, breathe deep into your lower centers to start to get to know this part of you on a deeper level. So when this part of you is truly held, who do you become? How do you create? I'll give you a few minutes to sit with that one. Beautiful. So beautiful. So incredible. So we are going to rewrite your too much story now. And I'd like you to create an affirmation or an I am statement, bringing in this beautiful integrated version of you. So we have the old wounded too much story, that well-trodden pathway. And we're going to start to build a new pathway, a new belief system, a new story. Now that you have connected to this part of you, when they are held and loved and safe and integrated, who you become and how this power creates and who you are. So we're going to create now an affirmation or an I am statement that's aligned with this hold, beautiful, integrated version of you. So I am. Who are you? This power, ... This energy, ... What does it do? What does it create? What's its impact? So we're going to create a positive story, affirmation. It's not even a belief system, it's a deep knowing. So when we transform the wound, the money block, the too much version of you, what does it become? Who do you become? And we need to start to strengthen this relationship with yourself. You can start with this affirmation or I am statement. It's a declaration. I'm going to give you a minute to come up with a statement, I am statement or an affirmation that is in alignment with this beautiful, beautiful part of yourself. Beautiful. So welcome, welcome. I would absolutely love to hear. I'd love to hear what's come through for you. So now that you've connected with and got to know this part of yourself on a new level, it's time to nurture this new connection. It's time to nurture this new connection. The old belief systems, the old patterns of protection are very well-trodden pathways. That will be your default, your knee-jerk reaction, your go-to, without even trying, right? That's the well-trodden pathway. It takes time, focus, commitment to rewire this program, to build this new pathway within yourself, within your business, within your finances. And it needs nurturing, and it needs care, and it needs time, and it needs patience. So your job now is to tend to this garden, to look after the seed and to grow it, to learn how to grow it, how to nurture it, how to take care of it, how to listen to it, how to work with it. So my suggested next step aligned action is that you get everything that's come through down onto your vision board, your needs, your wants and desires, right? How you need to be held, your new affirmation or I am statement, and you connect to it, you honor it, you see it, you witness it, ideally every day or a few times a week, where we just allow this part of you to be here. It doesn't mean that you need to do anything with it now, because you are building a new relationship with yourself first and foremost, right? You need to learn to trust this part of you, to feel safe with this part of you, to understand how this part of you creates. And it's also a journey of letting go of old wounded ways of being, old wounded ways of doing things, the letting go of the old ways or the misaligned ways, the old ways of doing things, the old things that you created that are based on past programming. That can take some time. And faster is not better. Sometimes it's kinder to go slower, and there's no rush. We don't grow new life by rushing. You can look at nature. Some things grow very fast in nature, and some things take time. So for now, this is for you to hold very sacred, for you to take care of, for you to look after, and for you to get to know. And then as your relationship with this part of yourself grows and you strengthen in that connection and you feel safer and stronger in that connection, you will start to know, guided by this part of you, when to take aligned action and when to move forward and how to move forward. Remember that you're going to be moving through and sifting through a lot of projections from your inner world to the outer world and the outer world to your inner world. And your job is to hold this part of you, no matter what is projected onto you or that you project onto the world. From my point of view, this is a path of leadership, and it's a path that not everyone's going to choose. So you need to honor your unique path and take care of it. So that is my next step suggestion for you, is just to get it on your vision board, to work with it, to get to know it, to nurture it, to create a safe space for it, to release all your judgments and criticisms about this part of you, to release all the old stories and patterns and programs around this part of you that's been suffocating this part of you, and to start to get to know it, learn how to love it, learn how to nurture it, learn how to meet your own needs, learn how to call in what you want, call in what you need. And this is part of rewiring to receive. So we're starting to breathe life into the shadows, and we're starting to learn how to receive into this part of yourself. Conscious creation, manifestation, one step at a time. And it can take a little bit of time to build that safety, to build that strength, to build that resilience. So for now, this is for you. This is your sacred space, and you honor and listen to yourself one step at a time. Take one step at a time. You will get triggered. You will get challenged. And keep working with all that comes up as you are rising, as you are growing into your next level.